The message arrived on a Tuesday. It came not as radio waves or digital signals, but as a small silver sphere that gently landed on the lawn of the United Nations headquarters in New York. When the sphere opened with a soft hiss, projecting a three-dimensional image of a being with 6 limbs and silvery skin, humanity's long-held question was finally answered. We were not alone. Within hours, Commander John Miller received orders to prepare for humanity's first diplomatic mission to meet the aliens. A decorated Navy officer with calm eyes and steady hands, Miller had never expected to become humanity's representative to the stars. Yet here he was, standing on the launch pad beside the newly retrofitted spaceship Independence, watching his team make final preparations. "Commander, final systems check complete," said Peter Franklin, his communications officer. Franklin was young but brilliant, with a talent for languages and pattern recognition that made him the natural choice for the mission. "Thanks, Franklin. How's Dr. Bennett doing with her equipment?" Miller asked, scanning the busy launch pad. Dr. Laura Bennett was securing the last of her scientific instruments in the ship's laboratory. As the mission's xenobiologist, she had spent the past week in a frenzy of preparation, gathering tools to study alien biology that she could only guess at. "All set, Commander," Bennett called, pushing a strand of brown hair behind her ear. "Though I'm not sure my equipment will be adequate for whatever we find out there." "Just do your best, Doctor. That's all any of us can do," Miller replied. The journey to the designated meeting point took 3 days. The alien vessel, a massive structure that gleamed like polished obsidian against the stars, dwarfed their ship. As they approached, Miller felt a mix of awe and unease. The scale of the alien technology spoke of a civilization far beyond Earth's development. Ambassador Zixtar greeted them in the docking bay. Standing nearly 7 feet tall with 4 arms and skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light, the alien spoke perfect English. "Welcome, humans, to the vessel of the Galactic Council," Zixtar said, gesturing with 2 of his arms. "We represent 17 species who have joined together in peace and mutual advancement. We have been observing your world for some time and believe you are ready to join our community." The next 2 days were filled with tours, meetings, and what appeared to be genuine cultural exchange. The Council showed the humans their advanced medical technology, faster-than-light travel systems, and energy production methods that made Earth's best efforts seem primitive by comparison. Yet Dr. Bennett noticed something troubling. "The way they look at us when they think we're not watching," she whispered to Miller during a break between meetings. "It reminds me of scientists observing lab specimens." Miller had noticed it too, but had hoped it was just cultural difference. "Keep your observations to yourself for now, Doctor. Franklin, any unusual communications you've detected?" Franklin hesitated. "Sir, I've been monitoring their internal communications. They don't know I cracked their encryption. They're not being honest with us." That night, while the rest of the team slept, Franklin showed Miller and Bennett what he had discovered. The Council's internal messages referred to humans as resource-rich primitives and discussed harvesting schedules and resistance suppression. "We need to warn Earth," Miller said, his face grim. "They're planning an invasion." As they rushed to their ship, alarms blared throughout the alien vessel. "The primitives are attempting to escape," Zixtar's voice echoed. "Secure them." Armed guards blocked their path to the docking bay. Miller turned to Franklin, pressing a data drive into his hand. "Get to the emergency pod. Take everything we've learned. Warn Earth." Franklin hesitated. "Sir, I can't leave you." "That's an order. Go." As security forces surrounded Miller and Bennett, Franklin slipped away through a maintenance shaft. Minutes later, a small escape pod ejected from the alien vessel, racing toward Earth with precious warning of the coming storm. Miller watched through a viewport as the pod disappeared into the darkness of space. They had been betrayed, but Earth would not be taken by surprise. Now they just had to stay alive long enough to help when the fight began. Franklin's escape pod crashed in a cornfield in Iowa 3 days later. Bloody and shaken, He crawled from the wreckage clutching the data drive. Within hours, military vehicles surrounded the area. Franklin found himself in the Pentagon, facing grim-faced generals and President Susan Rodriguez herself. "They're coming," Franklin said, his voice hoarse. "And we don't have much time." No one questioned his story after seeing the data. The alien technology was beyond anything Earth had developed. President Rodriguez called an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council, where the world's nations agreed to set aside their differences in the face of this existential threat. "We stand united or we fall divided," Rodriguez said in a global broadcast that evening. Just as she finished speaking, the power went out across North America. The first wave of the attack came at dawn. Massive ships appeared in the skies over major cities worldwide. They did not immediately attack, instead broadcasting a message from Ambassador Zixtar. "People of Earth, the Galactic Council welcomes you into our protection. Resistance is unnecessary and will only lead to suffering. Accept our guidance, and your transition will be painless." The world's military forces scrambled jets and activated missile defense systems. For a brief moment, it seemed Earth might have a fighting chance. Then the Council ships released small drones that disabled electrical systems across entire continents. Missiles fell from the sky before reaching their targets. Fighter jets lost power mid-flight. Colonel Alan Wright watched from the underground command center as America's military might crumble in less than an hour. A veteran of 3 wars, Wright had never seen such a one-sided battle. "We need to change tactics," he said to the room of stunned officers. "Conventional warfare is suicide against this technology." President Rodriguez, now in the bunker beneath the White House, activated Protocol Omega, Earth's last resort defense plan that had been prepared in secret since Franklin's return. Across the globe, selected military units went dark, disappearing into prepared hiding places with specialized equipment. In San Diego, former Marine Sergeant Kate Martinez received encrypted orders on a device designed to function despite the alien tech. She gathered her team of 12 soldiers and moved to an abandoned subway tunnel that had been converted into a resistance base. "We're switching to guerrilla tactics," she told her team as they unpacked weapons and communication equipment. "The aliens think they've won, and that's exactly what we want them to believe." Above ground, alien forces established control points in major cities. Their technology made resistance seem futile. People watched in horror as alien crews began setting up massive mining equipment in natural resource-rich areas. Commander Miller and Dr. Bennett were paraded through the streets of New York in transparent containment pods, examples of humans who had challenged council authority. Citizens were ordered to observe and learn from their mistake. Miller caught glimpses of the devastation as they moved through the city. Yet he also noticed something the aliens didn't seem to see: subtle signs of organized resistance, a symbol scratched into walls, people making hand signals to each other. The fight wasn't over. In her containment pod, Dr. Bennett studied every alien she saw, noting physiological details and reactions. Even as a prisoner, she continued her scientific observations, looking for weaknesses. 1 week after the initial attack, the Council called for Earth's formal surrender. With military forces decimated and major infrastructure destroyed, world governments appeared to comply. President Rodriguez signed the surrender document in a ceremony broadcast worldwide. What the aliens didn't know was that her pen contained a hidden camera, recording everything for the resistance. And as she signed, her finger tapped out a Morse code message against the table. Omega active. Across the planet, in hidden bunkers and secret bases, resistance fighters received the message and prepared for the long game. Earth appeared defeated, but the real battle was just beginning. 30 days after Earth's surrender, the Galactic Council held a grand ceremony. On thousands of planets across 17 species, beings gathered to watch the broadcast of the Acceptance of Primitives event. Ambassador Zixtar stood on a stage built atop the ruins of what had once been the United Nations building in New York. Esteemed members of the Council, today we celebrate the addition of yet another resource-rich world to our collective, Zixtar announced, his voice translated into hundreds of alien languages. The humans proved even less challenging than predicted. Behind him, in transparent cases, stood Commander Miller and other captured human leaders. They were displayed like museum exhibits, with information panels describing human weaknesses and limitations. Observe their fragile forms, Zixtar continued, pointing to Miller. Their highest military technology was barely beyond combustion engines. They believed themselves significant in the universe. The audience of alien dignitaries laughed, a strange chorus of clicks, whistles, and rumbles. Miller kept his face expressionless, but his eyes tracked everything. He noticed small details about the alien security systems, the patterns of guard rotations, the locations of control panels. Every bit of information was valuable, if he could only find a way to pass it on. Far beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Laura Bennett worked in a hidden laboratory. She had not been on the diplomatic ship when it returned to Earth. Instead, she had been part of a separate team that the Council never knew existed. Now, surrounded by advanced equipment saved from alien detection, she analyzed samples collected from crashed alien drones. Their biology is unique, she explained to the small team of scientists working with her. They all share a similar nervous system structure, despite being different species. It's as if they evolved together, or were engineered that way. She touched a screen showing microscopic images of alien tissue. And look at this. Their neural patterns operate on a frequency our brains don't use. That might be why they consider us primitive. We're literally on a different wavelength. Across the country, in the ruins of Chicago, Sergeant Kate Martinez led her team through a sewer tunnel. Above them, alien patrols searched the streets with scanners that could detect human life signs. But Martinez's team wore special vests designed to mask their body heat and electrical signals. 2 minutes, Martinez whispered, checking her watch. Then we move. On her signal, the team emerged from a manhole and quickly entered an abandoned building. Inside, they'd found what they were looking for, a crashed alien scout ship, relatively intact. Martinez's people worked quickly, removing components and taking photographs of the technology. Command wants this control system, Martinez said, pointing to a glowing panel, and get samples of that material on the hull. In Washington, D.C., in a bunker deep beneath the Pentagon, Colonel Alan Wright coordinated the global resistance effort using a communication system that piggybacked on the aliens' own networks. Franklin had discovered that by transmitting in very short bursts using specific frequencies, humans could communicate without detection. Martinez has secured the Chicago target, a voice reported over the secure line. Bennett's team is making progress on the biological angle, and we've received another coded message from Miller. Wright studied the message, decoding the simple tap code Miller had managed to transmit during a public display. He's giving us the schedule for a major council meeting, Wright said. All the high-ranking officials in one place. President Rodriguez, working from a mobile command post that changed location daily, received Wright's report with grim satisfaction. The council thinks we're beaten, she said to her advisors. They believe we surrendered because we're primitive and afraid. They'd been studying our past wars and conflicts, expecting us to fight like we always have. She looked at the map showing resistance cells spread across the globe, a network growing stronger each day. But they don't understand humans at all. We don't just learn from our victories. We learn even more from our defeats. Outside, alien ships patrolled the skies over a seemingly conquered Earth. But beneath the surface, humanity was preparing to teach the Galactic Council a painful lesson. 3 months into the occupation, Peter Franklin worked tirelessly in a hidden lab converted from an old missile silo. Surrounded by pieces of alien technology collected by resistance fighters, he studied the strange devices that powered the Council's weapons and ships. Franklin hadn't slept in 2 days. His eyes were red, his hands shaky, but he wouldn't stop. Not when he was so close. He connected 2 alien power cells to an Earth-made testing device and watched the energy readings. "There it is again," he muttered, pointing to a pattern on the screen. "Every piece of their tech uses the same energy frequency." A resistance courier arrived, bringing new samples collected from an alien outpost in Mexico. Franklin examined each piece carefully, confirming his theory. "It's not just similar," he told his team. "It's identical. Every species in the Council uses exactly the same power signature." Franklin sent an encrypted message to Dr. Bennett's lab. Within hours, they were on a secure video call, comparing findings. "You're right," Bennett said, her face tired but excited on the screen. "And it connects to what I've discovered about their biology. Their nervous systems all operate on the same frequency too. It's as if their entire civilization developed using a single technology base," Franklin finished. "Which means a single point of failure," they said together. Meanwhile, in New York, Commander Miller was being moved to a new display area in what had once been Central Park. The aliens had converted it into a museum of primitive cultures. As guards marched him across the grounds, Miller spotted something. A maintenance worker making a subtle hand signal. A resistance member. That night, Miller found a small device hidden in his food tray. It looked like a piece of bread, but contained a tiny communication chip. He carefully placed it in his ear when the guards weren't watching. "Commander Miller, this is Colonel Wright. We're making progress. Keep gathering intel. And be ready." Miller tapped his finger twice on his leg, the signal for "understood." In Chicago, Sergeant Martinez led a daring raid on an alien communication hub. Her team moved silently through the night, using the camouflage technology developed from Dr. Bennett's research. The alien guards couldn't detect their presence, allowing Martinez's team to place small devices on the main communication arrays. "Plant the bugs and get out," Martinez ordered. "No engagement unless absolutely necessary." The devices, designed by Franklin, would secretly record all Council communications and relay them to Resistance headquarters. It was a risky mission, but the intelligence would be invaluable. Across the globe, President Rodriguez coordinated with Resistance leaders from 17 different countries. Using Franklin's secure communication system, they planned their next steps. Dr. Bennett's discovery about their neurological patterns is the key, Rodriguez told them. Her team has developed a device that can generate frequencies that interfere with their neural functions without harming humans. Colonel Wright shared the tactical plan. Martinez's teams will deploy these devices at key locations worldwide. We'll coordinate with Miller's inside information about guard rotations and security protocols. Franklin's face appeared on the screen. "I've analyzed every piece of Council technology we've captured. They all share a critical weakness. They operate on a unified energy system. If we hit them with the right frequency disruption, we can shut down their entire infrastructure at once." One of the Resistance leaders looked skeptical. "Can we really defeat their entire invasion force? They have thousands of ships, millions of troops." Wright smiled grimly. "We don't need to defeat their whole army. We just need to cut off their head." He showed them images of a massive alien structure built where the White House once stood. "This is their central command node for Earth operations. All orders come from here. All communications flow through here. And we have someone on the inside," Rodriguez added. The screen changed to show Commander Miller, secretly recording from his containment pod. "I've mapped their entire security system," Miller whispered. "There's a way in, but we'll only get one chance." As night fell over a conquered Earth, the pieces of humanity's counterattack were finally coming together. The Council believed humans were beaten and broken. They were about to learn how dangerous that mistake would be. The small explosion near the alien fuel depot in Sydney wasn't meant to cause serious damage. It was just enough to draw attention and security forces. 3 hours later, a similar blast occurred in Cairo. By the end of the week, minor attacks had happened in 12 major cities worldwide. Ambassador Zixtar reviewed the reports with annoyance. "These are just desperate acts," he told the Council leadership. "The humans are lashing out randomly. There is no pattern, no strategy. But he was wrong. Each attack had a purpose: to test alien response times, security protocols, and communication systems. Every piece of data was transmitted back to Colonel Reich's command center. They respond fastest to attacks on fuel and power systems, Wright noted as he studied the data, and slowest to communication disruptions. President Rodriguez nodded. That fits with Franklin's findings. Their technology is energy dependent. And look at this. Wright pointed to a map showing alien patrol patterns. They always follow the same routes, same timing. They don't adapt. In her underground lab, Dr. Bennett had made the final adjustments to what she called the neurological camouflage device. When activated, it would make humans virtually invisible to alien sensory systems. Their brains process sensory data differently than ours, she explained to Martinez, who had come to collect the first batch of devices. This creates a field that makes them unable to perceive us directly. They'll still see us on cameras, but their eyes won't register our presence. Martinez tested the device, walking right past an alien guard who had been captured during a raid. The alien showed no reaction, as if she wasn't there. "We can only make 50 of these for now," Bennett said. "Choose your strike teams carefully." In New York, Commander Miller had become a favorite exhibit in the Alien Museum. They displayed him daily to visiting council officials as an example of human military inadequacy. This gave Miller access to conversations among high-ranking aliens. He memorized names, relationships, and most importantly, security clearance codes. During one such display, Miller recognized an alien species he hadn't seen before. These beings were smaller than the others, with 4 eyes and gray skin. They moved nervously, always staying at the edges of groups. Through his hidden earpiece, Miller learned these were the Kilari, a species recently conquered by the Council. Like humans, they were treated as inferiors. Miller managed to make eye contact with one of them when the guards weren't looking. The alien showed recognition in its 4 eyes, a shared understanding of their similar situations. That night, Miller received a message. Kilari Resistance established contact. They want to help. Franklin's global communication network had grown to include thousands of resistance cells. Using short burst transmissions that piggybacked on alien signals, humans could now coordinate globally without detection. "The disruptor devices are ready," Franklin reported to Rodriguez and Wright. "When activated, they'll send out an energy pulse on the exact frequency their technology uses. It should temporarily disable all their systems within range." Wright laid out the plan to the resistance leaders. "We'll need simultaneous strikes at these 20 key locations," he said, marking points on a global map. "Small teams using Bennett's camouflage technology can plant the disruptors undetected." "What about their central command?" asked Rodriguez. "That's where Miller comes in," Wright replied. "He's already organizing help from the inside. And Martinez's best team will deliver our biggest disruptor directly to their command center." Across Earth, resistance fighters prepared for the coordinated attack. In hidden bases, they studied alien facility layouts. In secret workshops, they assembled disruptor devices. In captured alien ships, they practiced with stolen technology. The Council remained oblivious, seeing only disconnected incidents that posed no real threat. They continued to parade humans as primitive curiosities, never suspecting that with each mockery, they fueled the determination behind humanity's response. The counterattack was set for dawn, just 3 days away. Dawn broke over a world that appeared defeated. Alien patrols moved through empty streets. Council ships hung in the sky like metal stars. In the command center built on the ruins of the White House, Ambassador Zixtar prepared for another day of managing Earth's resources. But beneath the surface, humanity was ready. All teams in position, Colonel Wright confirmed, watching the global map in his command center. Green lights blinked across every continent, showing resistance fighters in place. President Rodriguez gave the final order: begin Operation Thunderclap. In New York, Commander Miller felt the small vibration of his hidden communicator. It was time. He had been moved to the alien command ship for a special exhibition to visiting council dignitaries. This was no accident. Resistance planners had carefully manipulated his transfer schedule. Miller caught the eye of a Kilari service worker and gave the signal. The small alien nodded subtly and slipped away. Minutes later, the ship's internal alarms mysteriously deactivated. Across the globe, Martinez's strike teams activated their neurological camouflage devices and moved toward alien installations. The aliens couldn't see them walking right past security checkpoints. In London, a team planted disruptors on the main power distribution hub. In Tokyo, another team accessed the communication center. In Rio, Sydney, Moscow, and a dozen other cities, humans moved invisibly through alien facilities. At exactly 600 hours, Franklin pressed the activation button. Across the planet, 50 disruptors powered up simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. Alien weapons shut down. Ships lost power and drifted in the sky. Communication systems went silent. The unified energy frequency that powered all council technology was overwhelmed by the precisely tuned disruption field. In the New York command ship, Miller seized the moment of confusion. The Kilari workers had smuggled him a weapon and the codes to release the other human captives. As emergency lights flashed, Miller freed his fellow prisoners and led them to the ship's control room. "The humans are attacking," an alien officer shouted as Miller's group burst in. "No," Miller corrected, pointing his weapon at Six Star. "The humans are winning." On the ground, Martinez led her elite team directly into the heart of the Washington Command Center. With aliens unable to see them and their defensive systems offline, the team faced little resistance. They reached the central control room where Dr. Bennett's most powerful creation waited, a virus that would rewrite the Council's biometric security. "Upload complete," Martinez reported as she connected the device to the alien mainframe. "System is accepting the new parameters." The virus spread through the Council's network, changing security protocols to reject alien operators and accept human commands. Across Earth, aliens found themselves locked out of their own systems. As the disruption field held alien technology paralyzed, Earth's conventional military forces emerged from hiding. Jets that had been hidden in mountain bunkers took to the skies. Tanks rolled out of concealed underground garages. Ships that had been disguised as wrecks powered up weapon systems. Colonel Wright coordinated the global assault from his command center, directing forces to key alien installations. "Take control of their ground bases," he ordered. "Martinez, status on the command center." "Washington secure," Martinez replied. "We control their main Earth hub." In orbit, Miller and the freed prisoners had taken control of the command ship. With the help of Kilari allies, they accessed the vessel's communication system. "This is Commander John Miller to all Council forces," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Your technology has failed. Your occupation is over. Earth is now under human control." Ambassador Zixtar watched in disbelief as humans operated Council systems with ease. "Impossible," he whispered. "You are primitives." Miller smiled coldly. "That was your first mistake. Your second was giving us time to study your weaknesses. Your third was believing we were beaten." Across Earth, alien forces found themselves surrounded, their weapons useless, their communications compromised. The carefully planned, perfectly synchronized human counterattack had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. Within hours, Council forces began to surrender. 1 month after humanity's victory, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the rebuilt United Nations building. The room buzzed with nervous energy as delegates from 17 Council species faced the humans they had once mocked. Commander Miller stood at the center of the Earth delegation. Beside him were President Rodriguez, Dr. Bennett, Peter Franklin, Colonel Wright, and Sergeant Martinez, the team that had orchestrated humanity's stunning comeback. "This meeting of the Galactic Assembly is now in session," announced Miller, using the new title that had replaced Galactic Council after Earth's victory. Today we establish new terms for galactic cooperation. The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. Their power had been built on technological superiority that no longer existed. Dr. Bennett's research had revolutionized understanding of cross-species biology, while Franklin's work had broken the Council's monopoly on advanced energy systems. Earth does not seek revenge, President Rodriguez stated clearly. But we will never again be treated as primitives or inferiors. The new treaty contained 3 main points. First, all species would be recognized as equals regardless of technological development. Second, resource harvesting would require consent and fair payment. Third, any species could access the technological database that Earth had created from Council records. Ambassador Zixtar, now serving as a regular diplomat rather than a conqueror, addressed the Assembly. The former Council acknowledges its misjudgment of humanity. We did not understand your adaptability or your determination. Miller nodded. That was your greatest error. You saw our technology and assumed it reflected our potential. You never considered our history. What do you mean? Asked one of the alien representatives. Humans have been fighting against overwhelming odds throughout our history, explained Colonel Wright. We've developed entire strategies around being the underdog. When you conquered us with superior technology, you placed us in a situation we were actually familiar with. News of Earth's victory had spread across the galaxy, changing how the universe viewed humans. Worlds that had feared Council domination now looked to Earth as a potential ally. Species that had been subjugated, like the Kilari, found hope in humanity's example. Franklin had established Earth's new communication network, integrating human systems with galactic standards while maintaining security protocols. We're already receiving messages from 50 new species beyond former Council space, he reported. They want diplomatic relations. Sergeant Martinez now led Earth's new security forces, using the neurological camouflage technology and energy disruption systems. Her teams ensured no single species could threaten Earth again. Our planet will never be defenseless, she promised the world's citizens. Dr. Bennett's research continued to yield breakthroughs. The Council species all evolved in similar environments, she explained during a global broadcast. Their shared neural patterns became both their strength and their weakness. Our human diversity, considered primitive by their standards, proved to be our advantage. As the Galactic Assembly concluded, ships from across the stars orbited Earth, not as conquerors, but as visitors and trading partners. The planet that had been dismissed as insignificant now stood as a major power in galactic affairs. President Rodriguez addressed humanity in a worldwide broadcast after the assembly. 6 months ago, we faced extinction at the hands of an overwhelming enemy. Today, we have not only secured our freedom, but changed the course of galactic history. She looked toward the stars visible through the windows of the rebuilt United Nations. We have much to learn from other worlds, and they have much to learn from us. Our journey as a galactic civilization is just beginning. Ambassador Zixtar, watching the broadcast from his new, much smaller office, finally understood the lesson that would echo through Council space for generations to come. Never underestimate a species that has spent its entire history learning how to overcome powerful adversaries. And never, ever mock humans. They remember.